afternoon and welcome to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. I am your host, Phil Putnam with Empire Title. And as we survive these triple digit, it's not even triple digits, it's triple plus 10 is what it is. We're going through a bit of a heat wave here in Arizona, as well as a lot of the United States, or at least, and I know this is going to, and some people might say, Phil, it's, 119. Yesterday we tape on Thursday, so on Wednesday, yes, it was 119 in Sky Harbor Airport. But I'm going to be honest with you, it is much better at 119 dry heat than it is in Texas, South Texas, or Florida, which is also experiencing triple digits, but they're also experiencing 60, 70, 80% humidity. Our humidity yesterday, I checked it out at one point and we were down to 8%. So I know this might not sound very encouraging, but 119 degrees at 8% humidity is a heck of a lot better than 104 at 80% humidity, which I spoke to a woman yesterday in Florida, and she said it was 104, 80% humidity. I would take the 119 and dry any day. So we'll get through it, but I'll tell you what, it has not slowed down the real estate market. Things are still chugging along pretty good. Again, we're back to a normal market. And, we usually see a bit of a slowdown this time of the year in July in the Phoenix area. And the reason I say the Phoenix area is that our two guests today actually predominantly work in the Flagstaff area. So we're going to get a look at Flagstaff and the surrounding areas and how that market is doing, how they survived the winter, the record-breaking winter. As well as the second home market and all that good stuff that happens up there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests. It's Mark Tait and Jacki Semero, and I hope I pronounced that correct.
Semero Tait.
Semero
Yes.
Tait. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. We're glad to be here. But yeah, it was really warm when we got out of the car to valet and then come up. We were like, yeah, I remember this. We used to live in the valley, so we remembered it.
Yeah, well, and even though it might not seem, it's been a little warm in Flag though. What, in the 90s?
In the 90s.
Yeah, which is actually pretty darn warm for Flagstaff. You guys are usually in like the mid 80s this time of year, right?
For Flagstaff, the 90s do tend to feel a little hot, but it cools off really nice at night. So it's really just heat of the day. You got to stay cool, and then the rest of it's beautiful. It's why we're there.
It wasn't, yeah, absolutely. So it wasn't like our low yesterday was 97, which was that was the low in Phoenix yesterday. It was 97 degrees. It's the highest low temperature ever recorded in Phoenix. So
I just want to say we were sitting in our backyard last night. When I say last night, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, with the pine trees shading us. The sun was still up, and it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's we definitely want to delve into that. Mark, you're over at in both Jacki, you as well. You're with the Really One Group Mountain Desert, and tell us real quick a little bit about yourselves. Mark, let's start with you. Maybe a little bit of your history and your experience, that kind of stuff.
Well, I've been in real estate so long you could kind of carbon date my career, Phil. I've been in over 30 years. Had a corporate background, AT&T, Times Mirror, Warner Brothers, that sort of thing. Actually did a real estate show here in Phoenix on a couple of different stations back in the day. And so worked Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, that sort of area. And in 2014 got recruited to go to Flagstaff and work for the biggest builder in Flagstaff. And I called Jacki up. We'd just been married a year, and I said, guess what? I just got offered to come up and be a broker for Capstone Homes in Flagstaff. What do you think? And she's literally like, what'd you say, Jacki?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's move. And we were living in Scottsdale at the time and super happy and stuff like that. So we went in 2014, we moved lock, stock, and barrel with our two daughters to Flagstaff.
Well, I tell you what, I would do the same if I was you. I would never move from Arizona. It would take a lot for me to move from Arizona. If I'm going anywhere, it's probably going to be on the beach in the Caribbean. But if somebody said, hey, we've got an opportunity for you up here in Flagstaff, I would do it. My family's here in Arizona, so I'd only be a couple hours away. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. So, Jacki, let's talk about you a little bit. You are a best-selling author. You've written like two books, 3 books here?
3 books. Yeah.
And you're also a national speaker as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been in the real estate industry since 2002. So a little bit. And then, like, Mark said, I did everything here in Scottsdale. We moved up in Flagstaff 2014. And just over the last few years, I had the opportunity to personally mentor with Les Brown, who's one of the best motivational speakers out there. And so that was a really powerful experience. Got to share the stage with him at a big event in New York, things like that. So, and then, I wrote 3 books. One's a children's book, and the other 2 are compilation books. One was with Les Brown, and then the other one just came out this year.
So the children's book, is it like a teaching book on how to buy and sell real estate? So that way the kids know when they get older? It's not one of those.
Actually, it's about lemonade. It's how to buy and sell lemonade.
There you go.
No, I'm kidding.
Entrepreneur, right? Right. Being an entrepreneur. Well, that's amazing. So, so let's. I have to ask you. Flagstaff this winter. First of all, we had record-breaking snowfall in Flagstaff.
My gosh.
I know that Snowball had 400 inches, which, if it's 400 inches, seems like a lot, but if you actually look at how much, I mean, it's amazing how much they've had. Flagstaff also had record-breaking snow. Did you guys, what'd you do all winter? Was there any real estate being sold, or were homes being shown, or what happened?
So I have to tell you, first and foremost, we did our best to get out of there as much as possible, and Mark did a whole lot of snow blowing.
Oh my gosh.
But I will tell you, I was showing houses in Munns Park, actually, and I opened the back door and just was met with a wall of ice that was over my head. And I said, this is not something that we ever faced when we were in Scottsdale. So that was kind of made it interesting.
Well, it was 180 inches in town.
That's what Flag got.
Yeah, so we had, 7-8 foot, tunnels coming into our driveway.
Yeah.
And when I couldn't see my neighbor's house, and they're right there. It's not like, we live in, on 20 acres.
Sure.
It was bizarre. And they would take a couple of days sometimes, and we live in University Heights. It'd take a couple of days sometimes just to run a grader through. They run graders through in our neighborhood for some reason. And we didn't have a Jeep. We would have been, hungry.
In trouble. Yeah. Well, I know that, obviously the average snowfall for Flagstaff is 100 inches in a year. That's one of
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's like the second snowiest city in the United States. It's not one of those. There's places in the United States that get more snow, but as far as cities are concerned, it's the second snowiest city in the United States, and it averages 100 inches a year. So basically at 180, you're just shy of getting double what you would in a normal year.
Yes.
And even though, and a lot of people think Arizona being just all desert.
Yeah.
As soon as you get an hour or so north of here, you're in high desert and into the pinyon pines, that kind of stuff. And then another half hour later, it's all just ponderosa pines, and you're in 5, 6, 7, 8,000 feet as far as elevations.
And we want to say, totally blessed with all that snowfall. Like Lake Mary gives us 30 or 40% of all of our, water. We have an aquifer too, but lower and upper Lake Mary, they stocked upper Lake Mary this year.
Probably
they say they're
time in a while.
In a
Yes.
while.
Yeah.
It's been a prairie for years.
Yeah.
But like they say, it's going to be a lake for the next 2-3 years.
Well, we need that. And growing up here, it was always a lake. We've always had sufficient amount of rainfall and snowfall and everything else. Where Lake Mary, upper in Lake Mary, and Mormon Lake. As
And
well.
Mormon Lake, I was going to say Mormon Lake.
I do know has water in it. My brother-in-law was actually just up there. He's like, Phil, there's actually water in Mormon Lake.
Yeah.
So what, did the real estate market stop up there? Did everything just or did just life stop?
Life stopped a little bit. Not true story. And like Mark said, there were days where you're kind of trapped in there, and we had a Jeep, and even having that, we couldn't get out from time to time. But it definitely slowed the market down. We had a lot of people contact us around April, May to sell their homes. They said, that's it, we're out of here.
But they were waiting.
They were waiting.
They were waiting.
But they literally, the snow kind of said, I think that's enough of that. But then we had other people that couldn't wait to come, and especially our skiers. We get a lot of people that'll come up seasonally to ski.
Yeah.
And so it had the opposite effect for the people who wanted to be there for that reason, where they're going, hey, this is great. So.
Yeah. Well, and Snowball stayed open the latest it's ever had in its history. It stayed open until Memorial Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Growing up here, I actually went skiing quite a bit up in Flag, and I remember actually skiing in April, which I thought was amazing. And because we had some really good. They had 400 inches of snow up there. I do remember at one time when I went skiing up in Flag that the base, at one time at Snowball, and we're talking back in the 80s, was almost 200 inches. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh my God, this year it was double that,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And so, I mean, it was great for the tourism in Flagstaff, for skiing and all that, and the people who like to play in the snow for the winter months. But also now that, the snow is gone, and all that snow is melted, it's helping the forest, which is great. But I'm sure it's also probably helping your market up there as far as real estate is concerned for, the summer months, which, here's the thing, in Phoenix, we really don't have a slow period. I mean, we have months, 30 days or so where it slows down a little bit. But up in Flagstaff, you have, pretty much during the winter, even if you don't have record snowfall, things kind of slow down quite a bit. And then you have your spring and summer and fall, frenzy.
That's correct. So listening to you in the intro talking about Phoenix being 119 yesterday, guess where everybody likes to come?
Flagstaff.
They're all up in Flagstaff
Yeah.
now. And so this is our peak selling season. So where things slow down here for real estate, we're on fire up there. So we have a lot of, especially our vacation homeowner market, this is the time when people are really highly active with that.
We need triple digits in Phoenix in order for them to get in their cars and drive 2 hours up I-17.
Yeah.
If that's all it takes you.
Yeah.
Some days it doesn't.
Some little bit.
But that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for those triple digits. And actually, it was kind of cooler here in the spring than it normally is.
Absolutely.
So it kind of had a little delay. The snow delayed us a little bit. It was a little bit cooler here than normal.
Because people didn't need to get out of town.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And like Jackie's saying, now it's kind of compressed a little bit. So we have a vibrant market.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
and so we're going to take a break here in a second. But one thing I'm going to ask you coming out of the break is that, in the United States, basically across the board, the average sales price is $383. That's only about $4,000 less than the all-time high set last year's June as far as sales price is concerned. That's only a 1% drop. In the Phoenix area, we're rebounding. We did have some drops for a few months, but during the spring, things kind of rebounded. And basically, in Phoenix right now, because I'm going to ask you, how is
Yes.
conversely, Phoenix to Flagstaff. Right now in Phoenix, we've hit a 100% ratio, a sale to list ratio, which in other words means the average home is now selling for asking price. So that's what's going on here. I want to know what's happening up in Flag, because it's a different world up there when we're doing that. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after this. Sometimes you get caught. And you hosting a show, you probably know
What's that?
Sometimes you get caught and you look down and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
10 seconds.
I totally get it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's fine. You did good. That was a good out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so maybe I'll come back with this.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
come back with
he'll
that.
come back with that question, and then I'll come back with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I gotta call my assistant real quick, sorry. Working as an actual escrow officer sometimes. I just need a caller on this. Can't text her. Hey, it's not a problem. I spoke to Rebecca.
You're starving?
He just signed it. She's listed as married woman
I
on
could
the
eat.
front, and he signed a disclaimer deed, so we're fine.
You have a camera right there. What's that camera doing?
Yep, because on the front,
What's that?
he's the only one showing his borrower, not him. So
Yeah.
the disclaimer deed
Oh.
disclaims his interest as far as
I see.
ownership is concerned. Just him signing the deed.
Oh, yeah,
That's
look,
it.
he's got-
I spoke to Rebecca about it.
See, this is the kind of setup I was talking about, where if we
Right.
had
Yep.
the cameras, the lights, this
Right.
is
I know.
do your audio podcast or your audio radio show, but then
Right.
you have
So
a
I've
video
already spoken to her, just get
podcast.
it uploaded.
This is for
and release it.
video podcast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If
That's
it's-
what we
if
need.
they have an issue with it,
A room in Clark
Shoot me an
you can
email.
set up like this.
Yeah, we don't though.
We
Okay.
don't. I wonder if our title
Thanks.
company.
It's our garage.
I wonder if our title company
No.
has this space.
Garage is already full.
Does our title company have a room?
Garage
like
is,
this?
garage is spoken for.
Yeah,
Please don't talk about my garage.
them's fighting words, Paul.
My house too. I clean it and then she starts throwing more crap in there. I go, whoa, 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 whoa. That stays in the house or goes out.
Yeah, this house down there, we're gonna keep it uncluttered. Uncluttered. We have a lot of
I've
stuff
said that.
No, we're gonna keep it uncluttered. The one in Clarkdale. Keep that uncluttered. We'll have you over as soon as we can get kind of more done there.
We just got our yard finished.
I saw the guys working there when I dropped off.
Yeah, did
something.
the
Yeah.
backyard. So the backyard got done. So, yeah. It'll start cooling down there, September, mid-August probably.
Karen and I are taking you two with Stacy and her husband and Karen's husband and my wife out somewhere down there, probably when it cools down September, October.
Nice.
Let's do it.
But when it cools down, like what, September 1?
Here?
No, in Cottonwood.
Cottonwood.
But I figured we do it on the Thunder Valley weekends, so you guys can ride your mopeds downtown.
Done. They're not mopeds, they're Vespas.
They're Vespas.
What's the license plate?
Them's fighting words too, Paul.
License plate say motorcycle or moped?
MC.
Okay.
All right, so this one is 9 minutes.
All right, ready?
Kleenex tissue.
All right, Jeremy, let's do it. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. We're talking to Mark and Jacki Tait. They are with Realty One Group Mountain Desert up in Flagstaff. And before the break, we talked about how, the sky didn't fall. Chicken Little ran around for, in July of last year is when it really all started. So about a year ago, 12 months ago, and everybody went, oh my gosh, rates have shot up. Inflation was at 9.1%, which, by the way, is down to 4% now. And everybody thought the sky was falling. And we did see some pullback as far as pricing was concerned in the Phoenix area. But that's now rebounded. Across the United States, we're only down 1%, which is not much. Talking $4,000 on the average price home. What about Flagstaff? Because Flagstaff is kind of a mix. I mean, you guys... correct me if I'm wrong, is it what, 60-40, primary ownership to vacation ownership maybe?
Yeah, I think that's
60-40 maybe?
probably a pretty good number. I mean, when I worked for Capstone Homes up there selling homes, I can tell you 50% of everything I sold was second homes or investment homes, which are sometimes one and the same, right?
Well, yeah, no, exactly. So with that kind of market, down here it's probably 80-20. It'd probably be a better number. A lot of times people with secondary homes or investment homes, what usually happens when you see an economic conditions like we were possibly going to have is a lot of people say, okay, wait, I'm going to protect my primary residence. I'm going to let my secondary residence, my vacation home go, or whatever the case is. Or values on those secondary homes kind of drop. Did you see a drop as far as values up in Flagstaff is concerned? And if so, have they rebounded like here, or how's that up there?
I'm going to give you some numbers.
Sure.
Okay, first number I'm going to give you is what's happened in Flagstaff only, okay, since January to this June, 2023.
So from January 1 of this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so
prices are now at 610 on a median home price from 651.
Okay.
So that's about a 6% drop.
Sure.
Closed sales are down from 642 over that period, 6 months, to 481.
Okay.
And this is right out of MLS, right?
Sure, yeah.
Right out of MLS.
And that's the Emma. This is the thing that people, and I love the fact that you're reading MLS stats, because this is the thing, and we talk about that on this show all the time. If you want to know what's going on in the market, you need to talk to the people like yourselves that have boots on the ground that do this every day. And that's what MLS is. MLS is the history report of what you and your colleagues have done. This is your production report.
Yep. And median days on the market there is 49, so that's still excellent. List price received right now over the last 6 months is 98.6%, Phil.
Which mirrors what's happening here in Phoenix, which is 100%.
Yeah.
So it's pretty darn close.
It is.
So, okay, so you've seen a bit of a drop, and it's probably, that drop, I'm going to say is probably more cause for, well, let me ask you this. One, is there the inventory up there? I mean, obviously we're experiencing low inventory here, and it's across the United States. How's like the inventory up there? Do you know how many homes that you have on the market in the Flagstaff area right now? Now, does this include like Munns Park too? Is that what this includes?
This
that stat was flag.
That's
That's just
Flagstaff.
Flagstaff.
That was just flag.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I've got some statistics that cover our entire MLS area, which is 21 cities in northern Arizona. And so for that, we're actually looking at a median sales price of $575.
Okay.
So we're kind of right there. We've had 642 closed sales, 52 days on market, and 98.4% list to sold price. So it's mirroring those statistics across the board. But if you really look at our outlying areas, Flagstaff is a little bit of a peninsula. So our prices do stay high. You know, we used to get calls all the time. Oh, we're just looking for a little $250,000 cabin on maybe 10 acres, and we'd have to kind of go, I'm so sorry, that doesn't exist. If we could find it, we'd have bought it already.
Yeah. All of them.
All of them. Doesn't exist. But there are some outlying areas that do have some pricing that maybe is a little bit more affordable, especially if you head into the Verde Valley where you're looking, you know, Rimrock, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, Clarksdale, that kind of thing.
Well, let me ask you, and I interrupt you. So when this is the metro Flagstaff area is what you're talking about here, correct?
So to speak, yeah.
So what is it, and that's kind of what my point is. What does it encompass? Flag, Munns Park, maybe? Is it Williams part of that?
Williams, all the way out to on the west side. This can even go all the way as far west as Ash Fork, Seligman. It can go as far east as Winslow. Even some Holbrook.
How far south?
Yeah.
Does it go down to Camp Verde? Is that
yes.
part of it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So and it gets fewer and farther between in our northern Arizona MLS. So then you've got the Sedona Verde Valley MLS, which we're also a part of. So we do have a team of agents that covers the entire northern Arizona area.
Gotcha.
So. But yeah, I think the other thing to really note is that where inventory is concerned, this is an overview of everything from our affordable housing up to our multi-million-dollar vacation properties. Everything gets very segmented as you go into the areas. I mean, like for right now, our golf course communities, people, again, because of the heat here in Phoenix, people are coming up to Flagstaff in droves right now. And so our higher end golf course communities, things like that, that's a very particular market, as opposed to our entry level pricing, which our entry level pricing is actually pretty high. I mean, right now I have a listing that's $375,000, and it is the lowest priced single family home that's move-in ready that's available on the market.
Now, what part of Flag is that in?
That's in the kind of northeast city called Sunnyside.
Okay.
Up 4th Street there off of 66.
Sure. Yeah. And the reason I asked is I kind of thought it would be up there because again, growing up here, knowing Flagstaff and everything and kind of how it's situated, which is actually it's what people don't realize. And if you've just driven through Flag, it's a great community. Once you get off the beaten path and you go into some of these neighborhoods, unless there was pine trees around, you wouldn't know you're in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just regular subdivisions like we have here in Phoenix. The only difference is it's a lot cooler and you got some pine trees there,
Yeah, it's totally true.
And so if you want to talk about that listing, you can. I mean, what, 375, 3-bedroom, 2-bath?
3-bedroom, 2-bath, 933 square feet. And like I said, it's in Sunnyside. This is actually a modular home, which a lot of people confuse with manufactured home, but
totally
a modular home, totally different. It's built to the same specifications as a single family residence, so you don't have to get any special financing or anything like that. And so, yeah, that just hit the market. We've got an offer on it that we're negotiating right now, but we'll see. I've got several affordable homes that are on the market, and then I've got some great vacation homes.
So a question, I'd like to hear at least about one of your vacation homes, maybe towards the end of the show, and give some people an idea, because there's a lot of people out there that are looking for that second home or that vacation home or whatever the case is, or maybe they're looking to do an Airbnb or something like that. But as far as the market, and I know this might be a stupid question, but in the Flagstaff area, like here in Phoenix, if a house is priced accordingly, and I say that because you have a lot of sellers that think that their house is worth what people got a year and a half ago. And I'm sure you probably run across those people still today.
Absolutely.
If a house is priced right, does it selling quickly?
Yes.
Because...
And then in conditions incommensurate to the price, absolutely, it's going to sell.
And that's the point, is that no matter where you're at, if you're not asking for the world, and homes are priced accordingly, which they should be for that market, competitively. They're going to sell quickly, so you're not going to have a property on the market for 60, 80, 90 days or something like that. It's going to go fairly quick. We're talking to Mark and Jacki Tait over at Really One Group Mountain Desert. We'll be back after this.
Cool. She's Jacki Tait. I'm Mark Tait.
Hey, you used to always say you'd be happy to be Mr. Cimarron. I was like, Phil's finally giving you the opportunity.
But it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Did I say Mark Tait?
Yeah, Mark. You said Mark and Jacki Tait.
Oh.
Just
It's
Mark
all
and
good.
Jacki Tait.
It's
It's
Mark.
fine.
It's Mark and Jacki Tait.
It's just Mark.
Mark
you're
and
like
Jacki.
you're like Cher.
Mark
you
and
don't
Jacki
need
Tait.
a last name, honey.
It's all good. Doesn't matter.
Hey, as long as they call you, right?
Exactly.
That's as long as you get her phone number right, we don't care.
All right, so let's go. We kind of jumped. I was actually trying to go down the line here on your questions. We kind of jumped to what are the dynamics of the market now in terms of inventory and price, and we
Yeah.
talked about that. So let's now go to the one where it says, how would you characterize the Flagstaff marketplace generally?
Okay.
Because this one's only 6 minutes.
Okay.
Well, so we can talk about maybe market balance between buyers sellers. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably good.
Okay.
One of the things that I like to do in, let me just read through the other questions here.
I do want to, though, at some point, kind of make the point that, not in our market, it's not a matter of just being priced right to fly off the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Because in our market, it's about getting the right buyer up there, and we have a lot of unique properties. So I want to talk about that. That's the. Mm-hmm. That's something I want to.
I had a $1 million listing in Amberwood, and I had a $800,000, $700,000 house in Crestview, which was barely brand new subdivision, and they both went one went in 2 days, 3 days, and $1 million, but it was somebody who lives there, guy that owns the Chick-fil-A, and then the other one, just a retired couple bought the other one, but they both went. The first one went in a couple days, the other one went in a week. So that's why I was basing my comment on to Phil.
Right,
I was just kind of thinking
but that's
of those
my point though, is like Amberwood. So this is exactly the right point, because Amberwood, hardly anything comes on available there, and it's a very highly desirable neighborhood.
True.
And Crestview is brand new.
And it was single level,
and Crestview is brand new and single level as well.
And people like
so
that.
now we've got, you look at my listing in Flagstaff Ranch, it just went under contract. But that was on the market for 6 weeks because it's such a specific buyer and things like that. So, and we are 100% priced right. It just took time to get that right buyer to come through because it was 2-bedroom and a den. You know.
And that could be. The same thing obviously happens here, but it doesn't happen here as much as up there because you're talking about a totally different type of community.
Absolutely.
Well, here you're talking the 5th largest city in the United States. We got industry coming out of our ears. This is just a place for people to live.
Right.
Where Flagstaff is.
It's discretionary.
It's a different dynamic. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Let's
I had
do
this.
it.
We could talk about whimsical buying. Like the whimsical buying thing is kind of over now. People whimsically would just buy something because rates were super low, prices were good.
Right. They were kind of speculative.
Yeah, kind of. Oh, let's go buy something. Let's do it.
I'm bored. Let's go buy a house today.
All right, Jeremy, let's do it. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. We're talking to Mark Tait and Jacki Tait. They are realtors at Really One Group Mountain Desert. We had a conversation off air, and the dynamics at play, and it kind of goes to the next question I was going to ask, which is about how would you characterize the Flagstaff marketplace generally, and expound, tell our listeners what we talked about off air, which is Phoenix is 5th largest city in the United States. We got industry, it's basically you come here to live and work. The Flagstaff is kind of a mix of things. It's not just like here. Explain that up there, because it affects how properties sell and where they're at in Flagstaff as opposed to, I mean, we have the dynamic here, just not in the percentage of it that there is much higher.
Correct. Yeah, in Flagstaff, you don't have a lot of homogeneous neighborhoods. And so I mean, you can just drive right down the road and be in a completely different style of neighborhood, a completely different style of architecture. So it really is dependent on walkability, how close you are to the university and to our major employers, which are going to be Flagstaff Medical Center, Northern Arizona University, and W.L. Gore. Those are our 3 top employers. And then from there, it's what do you want to experience when you're coming up there to experience it as a vacation home? Do you want a golf course community, a gated golf course? That's going to be one buyer. Do you want to be up in the mountains surrounded by trees on large acreage, like
on a hiking path,
right, like
next to the national forest.
Yeah, like in Lockett Ranches or something like that. So you're going to find such a vast dynamic that to say what's the general marketplace is a little bit harder to answer, just because everything is segmented by price point, by location, and by ultimate use of that property.
So you could have 2 subdivisions or 2 communities, let's say, because in some parts of Flagstaff, they're not really planned subdivisions. They just kind of, over the years, kind of organically just appeared because people just bought up a piece of land, built. But then next to it, you could have a kind of a little master plan community. So you literally could have 2 communities right next door to each other with completely different dynamics as how to buy as far as how to buy and sell in those areas.
Yes.
Right next door.
Yeah, the point would be maybe the one of them is 80% owner occupied and they live and work there, whatever they do. They have a small business or they work for one of the big 3, whatever. And then the next one over could be, like a Flagstaff Ranch. Literally 75% of Flagstaff Ranch, 80% of Flagstaff Ranch is second home.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
So I was up there recently in June, and we did a house Airbnb, which was just, actually I could see I-17 from this house. So it was just west of I-17 and almost at the end of the airport runway. So it's hard to explain how
Ponderosa Trails?
I don't know. It was a custom-built home. There was only about 3 or 4 there right there.
Oh.
And then behind it were some older homes, but it was just north of Forest Highlands. Where Forest Highlands is a very upscale golf course, and that's probably, a majority of those are probably second homes.
Correct.
Multi-million-dollar, that's what a lot of people, they don't realize, is that you have subdivisions in Flagstaff, multi-million-dollar home subdivisions near an upscale golf resort, and a majority of those are second homes.
Correct.
Yeah, they're almost all second homes.
And then, but just north of there, you have, cabins, little subdivisions of cabins that were built in the 60s.
Yep.
Maybe a mobile or 2.
Exactly. So it's definitely a much different dynamic, as far as Flagstaff is concerned. And so, is that a challenge for you, though? I mean, when you have somebody who especially does not know the market, and that may be new to town, and says, I'd like to buy a home, and this is what I'm looking for, but I saw these homes over here. You explain how that dynamic works.
That's actually part of the fun of what we do, I think.
Well, it is, but Jackie, tell the story about how we had to get this Scottsdale slapped out of us.
Oh.
When we first moved to
When we first
Flagstaff.
moved to Flagstaff, we definitely, because it is so varied from neighborhood to neighborhood, that it took us a little bit to go, yeah, this is the charm of the place, and not like, oh, well, I don't know, because that's so close to here,
Yeah,
and
that
it's a
subdivision's
completely
not
different.
very nice looking,
Well,
and that one's better looking, and then...
Yeah, so it is a completely different feel, and it's definitely the type of community that I find it fun when I've got buyers that are coming up to Flagstaff from a different area. That's my juice, where I get to show them, okay, well, here's how this one lives, and here's how that one lives, and help them really connect with that right community for them.
So what I'm getting from you is that real estate is real estate is real estate, which means, you break it down, buying and selling a home doesn't change a lot from Flagstaff to Phoenix as far as the mechanics of it is concerned. The difference is the mindset.
Yeah, I think that's
thing.
true, but there is some mechanic pieces that we do want to talk about if we have time.
We're
because
going to take a break, so we'll get that right after the break.
yeah, there's a few nuances there that people are like, what?
Yeah, that's a little crazy, and that's the thing, is because there's a lot of people that are thinking about relocating, You know, it's like, hey, I'm done with the heat. Let's get up to Flag.
At 118 degrees, I'd be thinking about coming to Flagstaff.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll be back after this.
I forgot the name of that place. I can't find it.
That was good. What's that?
I forgot the name of that place.
The Gladly.
Thank you.
We'll gladly go there.
We'll gladly go to the Gladly. No, that was
Okay.
good. That was a perfect tee up.
Yeah, so we'll come back with some of this stuff here.
Yeah, about water hall and septic.
Water hall and
all that
septic
stuff.
and, you know, orientation of homes and driveways matter. And there's different reasons why the orientations matter there versus here. Here, you never want a west backyard, ever. Never. You don't want one. A lot of people have them. You just don't really want one.
Yeah, no, excellent. So that's, yeah, just go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. This one's 1450 straight through with no.
And I do want to
with
talk
no
about the
breaks.
Munns Park one.
Do you want to start on this question?
Yeah, because we're gonna
Okay.
go on to the nuances because which is
Cool.
basically where we left off.
Yep.
Towards the end, and I'm sure you've heard Jeremy say 1 minute, 2 minute. When you get down to like a minute or so left, that's where we'll wrap it up and we'll get phone numbers.
Cool.
And, all
Perfect.
Is this our last segment?
That. Yeah.
Okay,
that's
cool.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
It goes fast.
And how many minutes is this segment?
1450.
Almost
Oh,
50. Almost
so
15.
All right.
So, all right, let's do it, Jeremy. Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire Title Agency. We're talking to Mark Tait and Jacki Tait, both with Realty One Group, Mountain Desert. And before the break, we talked about, I was a bad assumption maybe on my part, but I was thinking, okay, well, real estate is real estate is real estate, and you're saying maybe not. What are some of the nuances up there in Flagstaff that makes it different than down here as far as that's concerned?
So I'm going to tell you, you really kind of want a south driveway because the sun hits it in the winter and you don't have the ice buildup. We kind of have a northeastern sort of thing going on there, and we always get just ice everywhere. So if you can get a south driveway, that's a beautiful thing. And I know here in the valley, the last thing you want is a west backyard.
Yeah.
So you see the little nuance there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So really, I mean, I guess, and again, that just, it's ignorance on my part. Even though, I've lived in Arizona my whole life, we have 2 seasons. We've got summer and we've got kind of summer, and that's the the winter.
Yeah, I get it.
Up there, you have 4 seasons,
We do.
Yeah.
and so I guess you do need to worry about those things. So even in the winter, even if you have a mild winter, you still get ice. You still get that kind of stuff because it does even though you might not have 6 feet of snow, you're still going to get the cold temperature.
And it's about roofs too. Melting on your roof so you don't get a lot of piles up, you get ice damming and stuff like that.
Yep, making sure you've got the proper heat tape and the proper systems. And I was just talking to an HVAC guy that they're changing how they install them because the roofs got so hammered this year. So there's a lot of ice dams, a lot of roof leaks. And so they're actually changing some things even just in their installation to help prevent that. So it's knowing different things like that. And then also it's knowing that most of Flagstaff is actually pretty rural. And so even you can be in the city of Flagstaff and not be on city services. You can be on septic, well, or even water hall. And a lot of people are very scared of those types of things, especially when they're looking at vacation homes, because they go, well, I don't know, I just want everything to be taken care of. I don't want to have to worry about water hall. But what a lot of people don't understand is that Coconino County in and of itself, 80% of Coconino County is on water hall. So it's a big business. And that is when, if you don't know what water hall is, it's literally where they haul the water to you and fill up the cistern that's on your property.
A big tank of water.
Big tank of water.
So 80% of it is?
Of Coconino County.
Really? So is it because the wells are too deep to get to? for the water.
Yeah,
It's
the water
expensive to
tables.
drill. I don't care how deep it is. It's expensive to drill
I mean,
for a
it's
well.
because that's one of the problems here. I mean, yes, you can drill a well in southern Arizona,
Yeah.
but you have to go down quite a few hundred feet
Yes.
to get to water. So now you're at 7,000 feet.
That's correct.
7,500 feet. Not saying that you have to go down, but you know what
Right,
I
I
mean.
get it,
It's
I get
like,
it, I get it.
As you increase the thickness of the earth, it's like, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
I've talked to some people in some other states where the water table's 40 feet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So
Yeah.
you have to dance around that subject. The other thing to know too, as long as we're talking about water, is that there are a lot of communities, big major communities up in northern Arizona that are on private water companies. And so each of those private water companies come with their own set of, well, how do you pay for it? How is the water treated? Where does it come from? What are the rates? So if you look at just our big three Gulf communities, so you've got Pine Canyon, Forest Highlands, and Flagstaff Ranch. 2 of the 3 of those are on their own water.
Yep.
So Pine Canyon is the only one that's on city services, whereas Flagstaff Ranch has its own mutual waste system and its own water company.
Yeah, those are in Flagstaff Ranch, all grinder pumps.
Yeah.
Because they got to drive all that sewer, septic stuff up, not septic, but sewer up a hill.
Right.
And so, yeah, so there's a lot of nuances there in terms of, I would say, utilities and then just practical things on day-to-day living stuff that we're talking about, like ice and snow.
Well,
Correct.
and you also have the reverse. We're down here during the summer, the electric bill is skyrocketing because of air conditioning in the summer. Where up there, a lot of people don't even have air conditioning.
They don't. They
Correct.
But in the winter, you get the heat,
You have the heat, but most of the time your heat's going to be on either natural gas or propane gas.
which is a little bit cheaper.
A little bit cheaper.
But your energy costs do go up in the winter
That's
because
They do.
you are
correct.
heating, so it's a complete opposite. Because
It's true.
again, 119 in Phoenix, and some people might say, you know what, I don't want to leave Arizona, but I've had enough. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm 58 years old, and I've spent 58 summers in Arizona, and they're starting to wear on me a little bit.
No.
A little bit.
I think it's time for you to look in Flagstaff.
I know some agents.
Yeah, I'll remember that. But and I know there's people like me, that say,
Yeah.
you know what, I don't want to leave this great state. I love it. I've got Flagstaff 2 hours north of me for skiing, and I got Mexico in the ocean 3 hours south of me. I couldn't be in a better place.
It's beautiful.
The affordability level there, and even though the prices are a bit elevated in Flagstaff, it's really not far off than the average price here in Phoenix either.
No, it
Right.
isn't.
Correct.
And so some people might be looking for that, but you got to know those things. It's like, if you don't have good agents like yourselves that know those little tiny, cheats, I guess, it's like, if you're showing, now if somebody was, if somebody said to you, I want to look at homes, do you purposely only look for homes with south-facing, driveways?
No.
No.
Because, I mean, not saying that's a
No.
bad thing, but, it's like, but that's going to be much better for them.
It's very, so you look for the house that's going to be the best, and then you educate what's going to happen based on what way your driveway faces or what have you.
And the house we have, it doesn't have that.
Exactly, and we love it.
We
know?
love our house.
Right.
It's just it's a hassle you have to deal with a little bit more. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's just knowing.
It just doesn't melt as well.
I would never have thought of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I never would have said, if I was an agent, it's like, okay, look, you got a north-facing, driveway. Just be aware that in the winter months,
It's not gonna melt
the
as quick.
sun is not going to hit this.
Not gonna hit it.
It's going to
Exactly.
be in the shade almost 24/7.
Yep.
Or not 24/7, but all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I was actually looking at some numbers in Surprise. That's where my office is. That's where I live, and that's where I work. Where the city of Surprise, as well as a lot of cities here in the metro area, are in a seller's market. So whose market is in Flagstaff right now? Is it is it seller's market? Is it buyer's market? Is it an equal market?
I'll let you start.
Okay, and then I'll kick it over
And then she's going to kick it to me. I'll give
because
you
I know
my opinion.
exactly where you're going to go with this. So once again, though, I am going to tell you that it is absolutely about your micro market. It's not even about Flagstaff in general. It is about Flagstaff, single family, north side, west side, south. Where are you at? What are you looking for? Are you in one of the gated Gulf communities? Are you in more of a traditional neighborhood? Everything is really within that little micro market. That said, if you do look on an overall, we have a tale of two cities kind of thing going on because we have such low inventory. So when you have low inventory, traditionally you're going to say, well, that's going to be a seller's market. But then we've got these high rates that are going on and the elevated pricing. So buyers are fewer and farther between. Like Mark likes to say, nobody's whimsically buying houses anymore.
Well, so is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? And I read an article, this is not original, or is it nobody's market, Phil? And so what that means is, okay, when you're talking about just from the buyer side, what's going on with the buyers? Well, you got high interest rates. They're in the sevens, whatever. Prices are still relatively high. They haven't really gone back too much to compensate for the doubling up of rates. And then you got the sellers, and this has been, everybody's written an article on this other than Jacki and me. People are trapped in their houses because their rates are at 2.5, 2.75, 3%. So it's not their market to sell, and it's seemingly not the market for buyers to buy. I would tell you, just analyze the market. I don't believe in delaying life. I don't.
No, absolutely.
I believe in moving forward and charging forward. And as long as I can, what is it? The Trump used to say, if you can handle the downside, then move forward. If you have to refi in 3 years in order to afford the house, in 3 years, probably should stay pat and continue to rent or stay in that smaller home or stay into that locked-in interest rate. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, and I think there's some bad advice going around depending on who you talk to, where there are a lot of people going, oh, just buy down the rate, do a little 3-2-1, and we can always refinance you as soon as rates drop. And yes, while that's a good strategy, like Mark said, if you can handle the downside, well, the downside is what if rates don't go down? Don't get yourself locked into something if you can't afford that over the long term. So just, I think that's one of the things to be wary of.
I do agree with that because, two things from the guests I had on last week. One is, do you think buyers are interest rate driven or payment driven?
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion and his opinion was the same, is that, well, they see the interest rate and it scares them, but then when you tell them what the payment is, they're like, well, that fits in our budget. So they're really more payment driven, it's just sometimes they don't know it.
Correct.
So you're right. If they can handle that payment over the long haul, if rates do go down, then you refinance. If not, you're locked in, which is great because it's a great way to hedge inflation.
Exactly.
The other thing is that when people say, well, is it a good time to buy real estate? My opinion, after being in this business as long as I have and knowing so many people and watching what it's done, and over the last 30 years in Arizona, we've seen Arizona as a whole has increased 469% in appreciation over a 30-year period. Well, good or bad, it's always a good time to buy real estate. But you got to be able to understand it, and you have to be educated, and that's what you're doing, is you're educating your buyer.
Correct.
We were talking about a real estate investment on the way down, and I said to Jacki, you know what doesn't ever happen to real estate? It never usually goes to zero.
Right.
I've owned stocks that went to zero, Phil.
Yeah, no, real estate doesn't go the other direction.
Usually doesn't go to zero.
Even
Right.
in the biggest real estate crashes we've ever seen in our history in the United States, we only saw about 50% drops in a lot of places. Maybe a few, but
No zeros.
but never went to zero.
Never went to zero.
It never went to zero. So it's always going to go the other direction, and it's been proven. I've got the graphs, and in every single state has had positive appreciation over a 30-year period. But you just got to weather sometimes the downsides. All right, so let's get into what advice would you have for folks that are wanting to buy a second home, because there's a lot of people out there that are looking for second homes. You kind of briefly hit on it, for the people that are looking for second homes because of some of the nuances of buying up there. But what about all the rest of the stuff that goes out with people that are looking for, that second home, or somebody looking not just a second home, but they want it's a second home, but they're going to do it like an Airbnb type situation.
And that's actually what I specialize in personally. I love working with that buyer and seller, because we do have such a great vacation market. I mean, Flagstaff alone has approximately 71,000 full-time residents, but we get 5 million visitors a year. And so you can look at it and say, oh, well, it's saturated, and there's so many people that did buy properties to use as a vacation rental, especially during COVID and whatnot. And while there's some truth to that, the bottom line is there's still a market for it. So I think that if you're looking to create your Airbnb empire, that's not really the direction you want to go. But if you're looking to have a second home where you can take your family, go on vacation, enjoy everything that the Northern Arizona Four Seasons has to offer, and you want to offset the cost of that while you're
There it
not
is.
in residence, boom, this is the perfect place to be. In fact, I've
Yeah.
got a perfect vacation home right now in Munns Park, and it's listed at $975. It's 3,200 square feet, and it's really cool because it almost has like 2 different living sections where you could maybe close off one section. You could have multiple families there. I mean, so there's like a lot of great things, and Munns Park is a phenomenal second home market. I mean, it's kind of quintessential where you go to get away for,
Sure.
in Phoenix.
And
So
the golf course right there and everything.
That's a
else.
cool little neighborhood.
Yeah.
And no, absolutely. We're almost out of time today, and we're going to get your phone numbers and everything. But one of the things that regarding the second home market is people need to understand when it comes to second homes, and I know this from experience because my family did it at one time. Strength comes in numbers. So you have a lot of families. They're like, I'd love to have a second home, but I can't really afford it. But maybe if I got my sister-in-law or my brother, and you get 2 or 3 or 4 families going together to buy it. Now all of them have a vacation home, and it makes it a little bit more affordable. I'm sure you see that up there quite a bit.
we do. I would just say there's a lot of ways to slice that piece of cake, so definitely give one of us a call, and we'll help you meet that goal however we can.
Well, if you're interested in one of their listings, or if you're interested in a great couple agents up in Flagstaff, you definitely need to give them a call. How does somebody get a hold of you guys?
To reach me, you would call 602-904-3454.
And you can call me at 480-250-9888. We still got those Phoenix and Scottsdale numbers. We never got the 928.
I deal with agents that have still some of their back east numbers that they just kept them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If you're looking for 2 great agents up in Flagstaff, that's Mark Tait and Jacki and Tait at Realty One Group Mountain Desert. Guys, thank you so much for being on the
Awesome.
show.
Thanks for
Another
having
great
us.
show, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Cool.
Nice.
Nice job, Phil.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Kept it rolling.
I don't think we said anything too
Stupid.
You guys were excellent, actually. So here was my concern before when I saw that you guys had a show before, is that anybody I've ever had on the show, seriously, with the exception of you, that has had a show or been on the radio before, usually is not a good guest.
Really? They want to like take it over?
Well, here's the thing. They want to take it over. It's like their ego gets in the way. It's like, well, I've done this before.
We don't care.
Good for you.
We don't.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right.
Doesn't
You're
matter.
never bigger than the show. You're never bigger than the industry. You're never bigger than any of this. I mean,
Nah.
I've got credentials going back to 1956 in the real estate market in Arizona. But I'm still learning about the end market every single day.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
And I learned that from my grandfather and my father. And I've dealt with some of the biggest and best. Not
Well, I've
best.
done a lot of crappy shows, and Jackie's done a few too. And so, that keeps you humble. That keeps you humble.
Absolutely. So that was my only concern. But I want to tell you what, that you guys were excellent. And
Thank
this
you.
Was when a show is enjoyable for me, I appreciate it.
It was fun. It
That
was
was
fun.
awesome.
It was
No,
fun.
that was a lot of
It's been a
fun.
while since we've done radio. We do a YouTube channel called Empty Nester Life.
Oh yeah, we forgot to say anything.
Oh, we
about
didn't say
that.
about
But
Empty
that's
Nester
okay.
Life.
That's right.
So we do a YouTube channel. So we do a lot of kind of video, audio stuff. So
A lot of media.
it's a lot of fun.
You guys, the show will air on Sunday at 2:00.
Okay.
You can listen to it up in Flag on iHeartRadio.
Okay.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you go into one of your apps and go into iTunes
Nice.
iHeartRadio,
iHeartRadio.
or one of the apps that are out there where you can listen to radio shows, you will actually get a copy of the show today.
Sweet.
Jeremy will send us
Deal.
a copy of the show.
All right, cool.
And I'll forward it to Paul so he can get it over to you.
That's awesome.
So excellent. Thank you so much.
Well,
And
thank you.
You know what?
So
I'm gonna
nice
have to have
meeting
you
you.
guys on again.
Oh, we'll do
Oh,
it
we
again.
would love it.
Yeah.
Feels
Yeah,
so
we'll do it
nice to
again.
meet you.
We'll come up with some stuff.
So they can come on again?
Oh,
here's-
absolutely.
Because I'm thinking about doing like just 2 from the north each year,
Yeah.
and maybe like one in May and one in when it's starting to get warm, and then one in the hell of the